Hi, everyone. A massive warm welcome to our latest 20-minute power play. We do this every month in the first week of each month, and I just love bringing them to you. It gives you a bit of a snapshot into what we share with our clients and what we're looking at currently. And this month is a bit of a doozy because we've had a bit of an explosion in the NFT market. You've probably heard NFTs whispered here and there, heard about it in the news potentially. But now it's really taken a big step forward, and I'll tell you why in a sec. We're also seeing a lot of platforms that house NFTs really start to take off. It's pretty incredible if you ask me. Now, with all that we're telling you here today, including charts and a bit of macro news, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We will be releasing a newsletter that is a paid newsletter coming very, very soon where we encompass fundamentals, technicals, and also sentiment analysis, and also give you buy and sell signals for certain cryptocurrencies that you might want to weight your portfolio with. So that is being released at the end of September. We're very, very excited about it. It is actually a world's first. We cannot find anything like it out there. Again, super excited about this. So stay tuned to when we do release that, and you can sign up. It will be likely through Substack, but that's still a little bit up in the air how we really approach that, but it is on its way, and it's looking and shaping up really, really well. So yeah, stay tuned for that. All right, well, let's get in because we've only got 20 minutes. And I'll take you straight away into the Bitcoin chart. And let me just make sure I do share the screen so I'm not just talking and you're just watching my face for the rest of this episode. Let's have a look at the Bitcoin chart just in isolation here. So on a very short-term basis, where are we and where were we last time we spoke? So last time we spoke, we were pretty much at the lower echelons of the $30,000 range. We were potentially sloping back up. In fact, we can just see here. So we are at the beginning of September, at the beginning of August, we had just... yeah, we were around the $40,000 level. So we'd broken it out of the bottom area of that market at the time, which was around that 29,000. We're up to the range high of about 40,000. And we were just having that pullback. We were testing it, having a pullback, coming back here. Now, guys, this chart is a bit messy, so I'll just sort of walk us through it. All these lines here are just moving averages. So they're long-term moving averages where price normally respects, or once it overextends, they normally come back. So just having them up helps me in my analysis. Also, we've got here this parabolic trend line. So as long as the price was adhering to this line, I was expecting upwards of 50, 60,000, but we have currently violated that trend line. You can see here, we've fallen below that white line. So I'm just going to get rid of that for now, just to clean this up a bit. We were in this phase of higher lows. You can see the market structure. Once we'd gotten above that $40,000 area, you can see this, we made the low down here. Then there was a higher low here. Then we made a higher low here, again, a higher low, and we're tracing this blue line, which is actually the 21 exponential moving average. We won't go into what that is, but the market tends to cling to that on the daily when it's in a bullish frame of mind, and it certainly has been. And then we approached the all important range high, so between the ranges of 40,000 and 50,000. So very important area where the psychological resistances are 40K and 50K. We approached 50K and we got rejected. You can see that candle all the way up here. It just got sold into, and it fell back down into this little area here. Now, this week we were focused in this, I guess you say, mini range in here. If we lost that, the structure was breaking down, we'd have to look at lower price targets. And that's where we are now. So we are straddling that blue line, the 21 EMA, and we're in this box here, which for me is a reasonably good buy the dip zone. If we lose this area and this, I think it's the 200 moving average, a simple moving average here, this red line, if we lose that, then we're going to be looking at these sort of targets down here, 40,000, 41,000. There's a volume support here that's holding up the market structure for now. You don't really want to lose this because there's a bit of a gap underneath. This just means where there's the highest volume traded, so buys and sells, that's where they're generally stacked. But the way the market's looking over time, if we have a dip down here, I still expect this market to move higher in the short term. And boy, have we come a long way, because only months ago we were down at the doldrums of market sentiment. We were in that high concentration band. And if you've watched a few of these episodes, we talk about the crypto fear and greed index a lot. So you can look up this website. It's super helpful to gauge the sentiment and a few other different indicators of the market health. You see here that concentration. We were at the lowest ebb. We were in that fear, panic zone. Then we had that bounce out from 30K up to 40. And now we're in that, that nice area, in that $50,000 area, where the market sentiment has been picking up. It's been in that mid 60 to 70 area, and it's good to see it concentrating around here. Again, when we get to these sort of extremes on greed or fear, we do want to pay attention, because generally the market does have a way of reversing or having a big pullback or a big explosion in price to the upside, generally against the grain. It's like a contrarian move. A lot of people are expecting something to happen, so the opposite will be true. Okay, we were talking about NFTs, and a big runner this week, we just have to highlight it. It's Solana. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but it is a very popular cryptocurrency. And right now there's a huge explosion on Solana, and I'll just get rid of some of these lines. There's a huge explosion in Solana because NFTs, so the non-fungible tokens, so let's just say artwork, some gaming items, things like that, can be minted on this platform for minimal cost. Extremely fast, and people can get access to it right away. Now, the reason why this is becoming so popular is, unfortunately, Ethereum, which has that brand recognition right at the top of the cryptocurrency market cap, is its speed. It is incredibly slow right now. It's getting congested. It's expensive to use. And quite frankly, it's a bit clunky right now, and it's going through a serious upgrade, which we're still waiting on to hear more news about. So things that are coming up like DOT, Solana, Cardano, even, we're seeing those gain a lot of traction with this new trend, new wave. And a lot of what we talk about with our clients is identifying the trend and what's coming. Right now, I'd say that would be absolutely NFTs, but we're just at the start of that. And the next wave, in my opinion, is that NFT gaming, something to do with gaming, and also play to earn. And gaming is just a huge industry, and we talk about this with our advanced clients, exactly what gaming means in crypto and what NFTs will do for it, and how that market will just pretty much explode in crypto, is my estimation going on from what I've researched, and how NFTs can really harness that industry. But looking at here, Solana, if you had identified the NFT trend, it had a bit of a trough, but we had the market correction, and then we've had the pickup again. You can see the volumes coming through something like an OpenSea, which is a NFT market where Visa actually purchased an NFT called a CryptoPunk, which I'll show you in a sec. But they purchased that. It's just had this new wave of sentiment, and new retail buyers come in. We have a look at Solana. Recently made from $22, got up to $130 is the top there. So 480% gain for Solana, just due to this trend and a bit of a narrative shift. It has a lot of things going for it over Ethereum. So really spectacular stuff. And congratulations on the investors in our VIP course and our advanced course that we're on Solana up until this point. It's still looking terrific. Chart's looking a little bit overheated though, I will say. Whenever you see something go up 500% over a short period of time, you do have to be wary, and you do have to start to pay attention to momentum indicators and oscillators, particularly RSI and a few other things that will tell you whether the trend is starting to change or things need to cool off. But generally, if you see a chart just going straight up, start to pay attention. But Solana has been doing great things. And let's just pivot on over to NFTs and CoinMarketCap. So a lot of these cryptocurrencies have been seeing that tailwind from that sentiment shift into NFTs. So something like Theta has been a little bit quiet for a while, but it's a very popular cryptocurrency. Got a few things released in September. It's one of the few that hasn't seen a bump. Tezos has been flying. Axie Infinity, I don't know if you heard about it, it's the most popular NFT play to earn game currently in the cryptocurrency market, and that has been absolutely flying. So it's $70. It was, I think, in the single digits earlier in the year. Chiliz, Decentraland, Engine, Flow. You might have heard about Flow. It's the NBA Top Shots. Well, that's where NBA Top Shots is based. So you get the highlights or moments through the NBA that can be tokenized and sold as NFT. So the space is just beginning to ramp up in terms of NFTs. All right, why Visa bought NFT? So they bought an NFT, which you can see right here, and it doesn't look very special. I would not pay $150,000 for this personally, but value is in the eye of the beholder, and we're talking about magic internet money after all. But Visa paid $150,000 for this CryptoPunk, and why they did it is because they are noting that NFTs is an important milestone in the history of e-commerce. So they are getting into this, and they're getting into this hard. But what this did, a company like Visa doing this, has really given that gold stamp that NFTs are here to stay in some form or another. This might be a little bit of a bubble at this stage of the market, and I tend to agree in certain aspects, but it is here to stay. And Visa, spending that amount of money on effectively a JPEG, a tokenized JPEG, is pretty incredible when you think about it. So yeah, start paying attention to that. Okay, let's move on to one of the biggest pieces of news that will happen this month, and it's been building over the last month, is the fact that El Salvador, an entire sovereign nation, has made Bitcoin legal tender, or rather it will come into absolute effect in about a week's time. So things are starting to really heat up. There's been about 200 Bitcoin ATMs being released all across El Salvador. They're looking really, really beautiful. And you can see in this video right here, this is one of the branches that you can go, and you see the ATM there. It's got a kiosk, a welcome desk, and you can also buy Bitcoin, redeem for US dollars or buy Bitcoin, do whatever you like within that realm. But you can just see what this is doing. This is just incredible. It's building a lot of hype. It's looking great, and we'll see how it all pans out when it hits in a week's time. Whether we've seen Lightning Network wallets go up, so that is the layer 2 on Bitcoin. So that might be a little bit advanced for everyone, but that's what they're using in El Salvador. They're not using the, I guess you could say, the slower, older network of Bitcoin, which costs a little bit of money to move and it's a bit cumbersome. They're using Lightning Network, which is built on top of Bitcoin, which allows for seamless, instant, pretty much feeless transactions, which are good for micro purchases at shops and kiosks and all that. So this is really, really interesting. And this is a great experiment for the rest of the world. And we're hearing that Cuba is not far behind. They're about to legalize commercial transactions and regulate it. That is just a short step, skip and a jump from making it legal tender. The real interesting part will happen here is if a lot of these South American countries, and particularly Cuba, start to really embrace Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to get around US sanctions. And that is a bit of a red flag. Regulation and this sort of macro view where the US has been largely sort of sitting back and just watching it all develop and cracking down on ransomware and things like that. But they've largely left the regulation. They've been a bit soft on their regulation side, which is good for this innovative industry that it's allowing to grow and flourish by itself. But if we see a country like Cuba, who has some serious US sanctions on it and has been for a long, long time since, maybe the Bay of Pigs and Castro, if they start to get around a lot of these sanctions with something like a Bitcoin, will the US come hard with crackdowns and further regulation on crypto? That is something we need to watch. And that's a bit of more of a zoomed out geopolitical macro view, which I love to get into with our advanced clients. But it's just something you have to think about if you're investing in this space, that is that's a risk. That's part of the investment risk when you get into a lot of these cryptos. All right, well, let's move on to our next topic, and that is fiat currencies. They're starting to show a bit of weakness. Not so much the US dollar. We know it is being printed a lot, but the demand for US dollars worldwide and in terms of trade and for other aspects is still really, really strong. The purchasing power is dropping, but it's not as stark as what will be for the euro, for the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, you name it. They're just printing money like you wouldn't believe in these countries. However, the downside to doing that is they're not the global reserve currency, so they really can't get away with it. Now, a post that I did for my advanced clients was about the euro. So the euro's lost 33% of its value in its 20-year lifespan. You can see the chart here just dropping off and dropping. Now, the QE, or the money printing that the European Central Bank has been doing, has been extreme. They're desiring a negative interest rate environment, and that will continue. They can't raise interest rates because the economy is so keyed up on cheap debt that if they raise interest rates, it's going to cause economic turmoil. You can imagine your mortgage going up, 1, 2, 3, 4% suddenly. By making interest rates negative, they've discouraged savings. So that's a big one. So everyone's been taking a lot of risk out in the environment. They've been putting their money elsewhere to find yields. So raising interest rates creates a lot of problems. So I just cannot see it happening. And same within the US. And now the ECB has reduced their bond buying. So that's coming back and that's tapering. But you can see they're buying, instead of 120 billion a month, they're buying 80 billion a month. So the bonds are a very interesting topic, which is a bit more advanced. We won't get into it here, but it all contributes to what's happening with the debt bubble, with why cryptocurrencies are becoming so popular, and why inflation is getting quite serious in certain countries, including the US and Europe as well. But I just wrote here at the bottom, central banks are out of answers and buying hard assets. Hard assets has never been more important. So this is why a lot of investors are coming to cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, to put their wealth, to store their wealth over the long term, because it is that deflationary asset that it has no increase to the supply once that 21 million has been fully mined, and we're getting close to that. So very, very interesting times ahead. economist, well-known economist, Daniel Lacalle, he posted as well on the back of that, the euro losing its purchasing power. In the Financial Times today, we're seeing the inflation rate hit a 10-year high. And that was in the Financial Times about the European Union and the European Central Bank. So there's a lot of heat, as you can see, to cut stimulus, but they're between a rock and a hard place and they can't. So this is really, really interesting. And a lot of people are getting upset. It's making people poorer and it's not social policy. If we're all losing our purchasing power, our wages aren't rising, there's a serious issue around the world and it's happening everywhere. So again, cryptocurrencies are an interesting off-ramp from that system. And just one final piece on this today, in the Financial Times as well, UK retail trade signals prospect of higher food prices. So we're seeing a lot of items go up. We're seeing CPI inflation go up much higher than economists have been predicting. We're seeing that a lot of these economists really don't seem to know what they're talking about. And a lot of people are just thinking, well, if you print X amount of dollars every year, it keeps going up and there's an unlimited supply. Well, of course, eventually everything's going to go up. Now, there are some asterisks to this. We've had supply chain constraints, so we're not getting a lot of the goods and cheap labor coming in to keep these prices down, but that doesn't seem to be abating anytime soon. You've got this almost perfect storm of multiple factors. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We could talk about it all day, but hope you've had some good takeaways from this. Please leave your feedback below. As always, I've had a great time. It's been an absolute pleasure. So have a great day and a great weekend, and we'll catch you next month. Bye.